Hello, good evening, and welcome to another in the series Why I Write. My name is Totlin Oliver, and I am your host for another in the series of exciting, dynamic conversations. Conversations with creativity, I like to call it, simply because these are the kinds of conversations that help us focus on that creative spirit within us. And if it leads us into writing our own books, our own novels, or memoirs, if it leads us to paint particular images using colored paint, if it leads us to creating a stage set that supports a story being told in a live performance, if that creative spirit within us leads us to write 2 lines of poetry or 200 lines of poetry, then we are here for it. We are here for that discussion. We are here for that encouragement. We are here creating the space that allows us to encourage you and to share with you all the very special ways in which we can tap into our creative spirit. And if you have a book that's knocking on your heart, if you have a collection of poetry that's really tingling and coming through your fingertips, if you dream an image that you must paint, then paint it you must, because you're the only one with that bit of creativity. And I welcome you to be with us here as we have a conversation with two celebrated poets from out of the Caribbean, from out of Jamaica, award-winning spoken word artist and award-winning performance poet, presenter. Listen, we're going to also talk about an organization that seeks to give more visibility to our poets, our word artists. We're going to be talking about this organization. So you stay tuned. Make sure that you share this link every which way you can, because folks need to hear the story. And that's what I'm going to do right now to my own page. I am going to right now just allow other folks, our friends and family on Facebook, to just go right ahead and share this link out in order that we can have more folks tuning in to our discussion. So do not hesitate to be with us as we continue through this conversation. I'm inviting you to put your hands together. Yes, exactly where you're sitting. And welcome to our Why I Write stage and screen, none other than Casey Garvey and Britton Wright to our episode of Why I Write. Welcome, guys. Good to see you. Good to see you. None other than Casey.
Likewise, thank you.
So we're going to make sure that we don't have any feedback going on my side here so that we all can hear each other. Yes, welcome once more.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it is good to see you both. The last time I saw you both in live and living color was, of course, at a poetry festival. Yes.
Yes.
Where I got to watch you in performance, Britain, which was quite electrifying. And weren't the pieces, every piece there was very so intriguing. Were they not?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. Yeah, for sure.
They were different, each unique in its own way. And I found that persons really showed out their light and colors. And, once upon a time, poetry was something that was said. You get up and you sit up and, my lovely dainty Spanish needle with your yellow flower and white. Or if you are saying a Miss Lou poem, and when you're done, you say, Jack Mandora, I'm going to choose none. But this time we had all forms on the stage and we got to meet you folks. And I'm so glad that I met you all because you run a very interesting, intriguing, very necessary organization in our artist world. And the name of your organization, both of you are co-founders, is Jaiku. Did I say that right?
Jaiku. Yes.
Jaiku.
Jaiku. Casey Britton, who wants to start by telling me how did this organization come about?
So, ladies first.
Okay. All right, fair. So back in, I think it was what, June, and again, Britton, feel free to jump in and correct me if my memory is off. Back in June 2023, we were all at the amphitheater of the Edna Manley College for Visual Performing Arts. And there was a poetry business workshop being hosted by the Poetry Society of Jamaica there. And there's a gentleman by an American who was doing a tour. So he was touring, I think, 11 cities in the span of a year. So practically one city per month. And the only city outside of the United States that he was going to was Kingston. So yeah. So this gentleman is named Christoph Jenkins, and he runs the Poetry Business Network. And it was the first time I've heard anybody talk about poetry from that entrepreneurial lens. So both myself and Britton were there. It really caught my eye. And he was just talking to poets about seeing yourself as a business. Don't just see yourself as a youth trying to think a little hustle. He's like, no, you're a business. When you're approached by a concert, by someone putting on a conference, see it as a business approaching another business. Yeah, Britton, I'll let Britton share his own experience from that night.
Please do. Yes.
Sure. Yeah, man. So for me, a bit of background on, the same information that Casey was sharing, just to kind of flesh it out a bit more. Out of the emergence of COVID, us coming out of that space where we could actually be physical and in person again, Instagram specifically served as an invaluable space for me to actually reintegrate myself back into the space of poetry. And I used to attend virtual open mics on Instagram. And I remember specifically coming across Christoph Jenkins' live platform. And his was markedly different from the rest in the sense that usually when you see these platforms, it's more about sharing your poetry. It's more about writing and performing and sharing your pieces. But what he brought that was so different was he was having discussions and conversations about the business of poetry, which really stood out. And I was actually the first poet that he contacted locally. And he was letting me know that, he's coming to Jamaica, such and such, and, we should be there. So that's how I showed up there, Casey and I.
I love that.
Yeah.
And what led you to actually begin the organization, JAIKU?
So we were very much inspired by that workshop, and we saw what the space was before us being enlightened to that degree about the possibilities and the potential out there. And we use that enlightenment and that sense of inspiration to actually make a next step and be like, let's do something. But what it initially started out as, if I remember correctly, was merely a WhatsApp group. Right? Casey created, because Casey loves to create WhatsApp groups. So Casey created a WhatsApp group called JAIKU, and it was initially a space where us as poets would just bounce ideas off each other, etc. And then, all of a sudden it becomes something different. It becomes us actually pursuing the dream of creating a poetry firm. That's Casey for you. She's the visionary.
Okay, that's so good.
Yeah.
So before we even get into much more about the organization you both found inspiration to create, and especially in a space that seems not to be very vibrant in terms of people getting paid. Now we know dance hall artists get paid. Okay.
Yes.
Most of them, whether they're rising or worldwide, they get paid in some form, fashion, or whatever. And the other folks, singers, songwriters, they also get paid as they come on stream. They perform at a concert, they get paid.
Yes.
Dancers, they get paid. MCs
Get paid.
background bands, performing
Sound equipment. Yeah. The
They get
person managing sound equipment get paid, yes.
Yeah, especially where they agree to do a for-profit performance. Of course, many of these artists that I mentioned, they do charity events, but that's when they agree to do the charity events. But
Right.
outside of that, people expect to be paid. The disco guy, the DJ playing the music at the wedding, playing the music at the function, at the concert, they're getting paid. So, what do we do? But let us go on now to do a little bit of background as to your history as an artist. In 2017, you were the winner of the Cecile de Jong Literary Prize awarded by the Caribbean Writer. And you are also the 2018 Stanza Poetry Competition winner. And this was hosted by the Toastmasters Club in Kingston, Jamaica. In 2024, you were a bronze medalist in the competitions of Wake Up Jamaica Art for Liberation Poetry competition for the Golden Tongue Award hosted by Poetry in Motion and the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission Poetry Competition. So you are right off the bat a winner. How did your life in poetry begin for you, Casey?
So it began the summer of 2008. I'm bringing you way, way, way back to the
It's all
very,
right.
very beginning.
That wasn't even 1998. Try again.
So I got my first degree in the US and I was job hunting. And in the midst of job hunting, if anybody remembers what that year was like, there was a massive global recession that was caused at the beginning, really, from the US housing crisis, right? And that housing bubble. So it was very stressful. And a friend of mine said, how about we just take a break, go to a poetry slam. I didn't even know what a poetry slam was. I'm like, what is a poetry slam? Like, to me, poetry at that point was either Shakespeare or just Louise Bennett, and that's it.
Wow.
I honestly had never even heard of it. And so when she took me down there, I was completely enthralled. I just saw these poets up there doing spoken word poetry. That was my first introduction to it. And I mean, it was absolutely mind blowing. I ended up moving back to Jamaica almost a month or two after that event, because that happened towards the end of summer and I moved back to Jamaica at October. And so as soon as I came back home, I was looking for the next poetry scene. I was like, I want to get a taste of that again. There has to be something like that here. And I'm glad I came up on it. There was a show called Say Something Poetry that was happening at the time. It was being hosted by Izimi Clem. And it was in Orchid Plaza. And I said, okay, this is a cool vibe. And my sister's birthday was around the time of my sister's birthday. So my cousin and I said we're going to take her out somewhere cool and different, something a little classy. So I think it was my cousin who actually suggested the poetry line, right? Say Something Poetry. And it feels silly to take your sister to a poetry show for her birthday and not write a poem about her. So that was the first time I wrote a poem and performed it. And I remember it was called The Walls Shall Sing Her Praises. And so it was more or less me describing the different rooms that she was in, whether it's a classroom, whether it was a dojo where we did karate, whether it was when she went to medical school or house and we all grew up as kids, and just talking about the different roles that she has played in her life. And afterwards, the host came up to me afterwards. He's like, who are you? Like, how come I've never heard of you before? Because he was so taken aback by the poem. He's like, that was so beautiful, but where have you been? Like, how come you're not on the circuit? I didn't even know that there was a circuit to be on. Yeah, I didn't even know that there was this thing happening, this poetry scene happening. And I realized that once you get plugged into one, you'll hear about more and more. So that's how I started really getting a lot more involved. So, then I started hearing about dub club and dub poetry, which is a bit different from the glass of wine at Orchid Plaza kind of poetry. And then I heard about Poetry Society of Jamaica that has their monthly open mic nights, and we actually get feedback. So that's really how I got into poetry.
Oh, I like that. I absolutely love that because you see, when you take us back to a point in your adulthood where you started this new art that you didn't even know was laying hidden inside you, waiting for discovery. You didn't even know it. And here it pops up within you and it opens up a new window, a new door, a whole new house to your world. You know, before you took your sister to that event and you wrote this poem, um, were you writing anything else before that?
Not at all. Nothing at all. Nope. Which is why I said, which is why it took me aback that I could fall so in love with poetry because again at that point I had no interest in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
What did you study at university?
I studied international politics and Spanish.
Mm-hmm. And you
Yeah.
found that there is no poetry nowhere in that to be found.
Nowhere in that. I was looking at working at maybe the United Nations. I mean, when I moved back, I got my first job at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I mean, it was just on track with that. So there really was I've never studied literature beyond
Right.
sixth form,
You see, that's why your story is so interesting for Why I Write. Because many of our authors started writing poetry back in when they were 5 years old, 6 years old.
Yes,
Even if
yes.
they did not pursue it assiduously every year after that into adulthood, they can remember, they can pinpoint when they wanted to tell a story, when they wanted to use words, when they wanted to play around with words. But here you are, just taking us back into real history and recent history and reminding us that in the midst of all of that, the art lived, the
Yes.
art survived. And that's a very interesting story that the art has survived. Now, we have lost Britain for a moment. I am sure
Sure.
he's going to try and come back in. So we continue the conversation with you as we continue. So after that aha moment hit, at
Right.
that event with that first piece, you are better than most to be able to identify and recall the very first piece you ever wrote. What happened after that for you? What did you start to do differently?
I started to really test it out more. So instead of just getting a cool idea, I tried to see if I could build it out into a poem. And I wish I had a better record keeping back in those days because I can't even find some of those poems right now. I mean, it's something I just write on a piece of paper and uh, or type it out for the night, and I lost it over the years. But I started to actually say, okay, let me really put my hand to this. And then I started really delving into writing poems about my faith. And those were very moving for people. And that opened another door as well, because then it's actually seen as a form of ministry. So, and it became a part of even different church services that I go to. So, church services tend to have a very similar structure. He starts off with a prayer, then praise and worship where you sing, somebody makes a couple of announcements, a pastor preaches, you end with a couple songs and a prayer, and that's it. Well, then now there'll be different church, like my church would start to, say, okay, we're going to have a special item. I know a special item would be another song by somebody, or
Right.
maybe a dance. And now the special item would be seen as a poem. So poetry in church services became a whole new
Thing.
thing,
I
right?
love that.
Yeah, and it wouldn't just be my church. So then other churches would be hearing about me and saying, "Oh, hey, can you come here? We're having a church service on this theme. Do you have any poems that could match that?" And so that really started building up as a kind of repertoire for me. So Christian poetry, not just poetry, but Christian poetry became its own repertoire for
Yeah.
me.
Christian
Yeah.
faith-based poetry.
Yeah.
All right. How did folks begin to respond to you when you shared your poetry in that way?
People really loved it right off the bat. And I think it's also because of how I would share it. So I see it as God keeping me very dependent on him because it's almost impossible for me to finish the poem before performing it. So my process will usually be that I'll get a phrase or a concept I'm trying to explain or to tell, but I can't finish it. I can't have all the words written down. I have to just literally get enough of it. It's like, if you're pregnant and the baby is just brewing and you just have to just know when it's time to go to the hospital, and I just go. So I can't really get up, and I've never memorized any of those pieces. So I just have that concept. It's a fire in my belly. I go on stage. I'll be like, Lord, just give me the rest of the words, and I'll just start talking. And then I'll just hear words coming out of my mouth that sound really beautiful. And I'm glad that he'll give me those words in time, so I don't look like a complete idiot on stage.
is absolutely inspiring. I love that.
Yeah, and then once it's done, I just kind of remember it because again, it's always very systematic. It's a story I'm telling or it's a concept I'm explaining. So once I remember the concept or the story, the rest of the words will follow suit.
Is there anything that comes to mind now that you could share that is similar to what you just described?
As in like a poem?
Yes,
Yeah.
as in like
Okay.
a poem.
Oh, you actually want me to do a poem? Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. Let me pick one right now. I'll do this one. She prays for hunger. In a world where need is greed, lust is a must, and sober is just another word for thirsty, she prays for hunger. She lies prostrate, desperate, and she refuses to move. For sin has roamed her land and is a glutton and a drunk, fattened by her son's firstborn rams with wine from her daughter's vineyard, dribbling down the corner of its mouth. Sin lies lazily across the threshold of her house. She tries to rid herself of sin, washes her hands clean of it, but has nothing but the filthy rags of her own self-righteousness to dry them with. Desperate, she goes into the king's throne room, and her knees buckle under the weight of his glory. The floor is translucent like pure gold. Rubies and emeralds swim across the walls. The ceiling drips with diamonds and pearls and stones too precious to name, yet she asks for coal to touch her lips one more time. New creature in him, new work in her, new name entitled to her. Her name is Faith, crawling on bruised knees and scraped palms, spitting out the dust the crowd has shaken off their sandals for her, stretching to see if her fingertips can just touch the hem of his cloak. She no longer has an issue of blood because Christ issued his blood for her. Her name is Life, seeds planted by Paul, watered by Apollos, but grown only by the power of God's hands. And when her roots have grown old in the ground, and her stump has died in the soil, yet at the scent of water, she buds and springs forth. Her name is Whole, damp hair, swollen eyes, broken alabaster, fingers scented with perfume from the body no one has seen in the tomb since the third day. Her name is Freedom, as her feet dance happily to the clanking of chains falling from her wrists and ankles, picked open with nails plucked from his cross. Her name is Redeemed, as rivers of blessing flow deep from the bottom of her belly. She is hope, she is victory, she is glory not yet shone. She is worshiper, and she bows down.
Powerful. That is powerful. Amazing. Oh, I hear so many scripture
Amen.
stories in that. And I can see it playing out in real life of anyone working through their faith, no matter their circumstances in life. I love that.
Yes.
That's ministry.
Yeah.
That
And
is fire.
Amen. Amen.
That is fire. Ooh. Marguerite Anderson says she puts here like about 20 fire icons.
I love Marguerite. She's the one who put on the festival that we all met at.
I know, right? She has also been a former guest here on Why I Write, herself and Canute. Lorna Hoylett is here. Yes, Lorna, we can definitely start writing our poetry at any time. You're quite right. Errol Bean, thank you for tuning in and being here with us. Yeah. Tanisha Ben says, yes, let's give a hallelujah.
I love Tanisha.
Oh my goodness, I tell you. And this is the kind of fire and this is the kind of inspiration we want to consistently pass on through our creative works. Look at what you said. You graduated from college, had your degree in international, finance, business,
Oh, international affairs. So it's a bit
international
generic, yeah.
affairs, and no work no day, as them say in a Jamaican language, no work no day. But look at where you were ushered to.
You're right.
Look at what you were ushered into. For you to pen these words, about how many pieces of poetry do you think you have penned from?
I would say easily close to 40 at this point. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And as does any of the ideas come to you like in the middle of the night in a dream?
Yes, actually, I would say so. I mean, I'd say in the last batch that I did, one of them was definitely when I was still lucid, so I wasn't fully awake yet. And so that's how I know it really wasn't me. And it's like when I said the whole poem, it wasn't even just, I mean, I had a one idea of a word that I wanted to play around with because I like to use a lot of word plays in my pieces. And I said an entire poem came to me, so I just got up, I made sure I jotted it down, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I still just know it now to this day. Yeah.
I am loving this. The prophet says, amazing. Kimberly Morgan says, this is fantastic. Um, one more person said something else. Dawn Price is agreeing with Lorna that says you can start writing at any
Any
age.
age. I
That's
think
why
so
we
as
do
well.
this program. That's why we do Why I Write. Because there's no guest that I've ever had who has had the same exact experience as the other one. And everybody's work is highly valid and highly valuable. And me, at my heart, I'm every art. I'm every artist. I'm a dancer, I'm a singer, I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I'm a
Love it.
playwright.
You're a
You
fashion designer. I'm loving the head wrap and the
thank you,
jewelry.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Need to call you Hotlin, not Totlin.
You know, but this is all a part of the art and the creativity that the divine creator has blessed us with. Not everybody's open to that quality of their own divine being that carries within them these messages, these because we're what we write and what we do is not just for ourselves, but
No, not at
for
all.
humanity. And we need to hear those stories. We need to hear the poetry. I'm so glad your sister had that birthday and took you or her, whoever took who, to that poetry reading. Because I've been going to poetry readings for as long as I can remember. And I studied literature, so I can't get
Oh,
enough. I can't get enough literature. I can't get enough. And nowadays, when each of us as writers, whatever genre you belong to, when we get the opportunity to put down our words on paper and we are able to publish that, whether self-publish or we have another established publisher do the work for us, what is fantastic is that the vibrations of what we have to offer and share, it really, really illumines humanity. And that's what we're here for. We're
I,
here for that. Yep.
absolutely. And I really agree. And I mean, a big part of why I'm so passionate about Jaiku is because if you are called and designed by God to be a poet, you should be able to do it. I hate the fact that there are people who know it. Everybody knows when you have that calling on your life, when you have that fire in your bones, and you know that this is what you're supposed to be doing, but you have to relegate it to a hobby or something on the side for whichever reason. That's a big part of what Jaiku is about. It's about the freedom to actually be what you know you are made by God to be. I believe that every person, not just every poet, every person is a word from God. And we have become flesh and we're walking among us. Like there's things that your life and your art will say that no one else's life or art can say. And that's why we all need to be able to say that. So when Breton comes back on, because he needs to come back on, because you guys need to hear from him as well. His
Yes.
poetic journey is fantastic. There's a need for that. Like just even there are things that he can say to different people that I can't. Like when
Yes.
he goes to a room of teenage boys, I can't relate to them in the same way, right? If he were to recite that poem that I just recited, it wouldn't necessarily connect in the same way. So that's why it's so important for all of us to be able to embrace our gifts and our callings and to have the capacity to do so in a sustainable way.
By all means. Now, you have publications as well. In 2014 and 2018, you launched Undone and the Water Jar, the first and only Christian poetry albums published in Jamaica so far. Tell us more about what that involves.
So, all right. So when I did the first one, again, this was just in response to, I don't want to say market demand because that kind of sucks the soul out of it. But that's really what it was. It was a lady from my church. I'm going to even say her name, Pat Tyson. I say, big up yourself, Auntie Pat. Every time she'd hear me minister at church, she said, I want to hear it. I want to be able to, I don't want to have to wait till I go to church. I want access to it. So I was going to just do a book. And she said, no, I don't want to just read it on the page. I want to be able to hear it. So that's when I chose to do an album. So I went and I went to a sound engineer, and he'd fuse it with really beautiful sounds. They may not be music, but it'll just be sounds.
Correct.
Yeah, that would just amplify what I was saying. And so I did that one back in 2014. And then I wrote 10 more pieces, and somebody said, why not do another album? Yeah. And because they said, I want to hear more because you're writing more, so let's hear some more. So it was a really great time. I mean, and there's some other poets I brought on as well to come and perform at the album launches. So it was, as much as it was about me expressing myself, it was also bonding with other poets in the community.
I
Yeah.
am loving this. Where would we find that album? Where would we get those albums to listen to?
So here's the part that's really embarrassing. I'm not tech savvy. I am working on getting them on Spotify because right now they're still physical books, and I printed some and I sold them all out, which is a good problem to have.
Yes, it is.
But but I am working on getting them available online, like especially on Spotify, especially for the sound part of it. So hold me to it. I can't let this year end and not have them online.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of publication. And we welcome that because, so you're not going to publish more hard copy books?
Because I mean, I'm still have to sit down and properly, map that out, because when it's not just about the product, it's about the distribution channels. So if there are more people who are outside of Jamaica who like it, then it wouldn't really make sense to have the physical book and be paying for shipping. It might make sense to just get it through, and they can just order on Amazon, and Amazon will print and send it for me. So I have to really sit down and do my own analysis in that way, market analysis in that way. Yeah.
All right, good. So here we are. You are leading, one of the co-founders and leading this nonprofit organization, and you're working on I'm getting some interesting text while we're talking here. We are working on these various aspects. What is the biggest? You and Britton just came back from CariFesta, right?
Yes.
That was held in Barbados, right?
Yes.
Tell us about Britton. Where are you and what's happening with you, my dear?
I want Britton on so bad. I think you might have to do.
We're gonna have to listen. If he doesn't come on by, we're just gonna do him next week. That's all.
Yeah. You need to do a part 2. Like, just do one with just him. He can do a part 2 all on his own. Trust me.
Yeah. So, how was it, your visit to CariFesta? Why did you decide to go? And what was that like?
Oh, it was overwhelmingly good. So it was the first time I'd ever been to CariFesta, which is saying something, because CariFesta has been going on since 1976.
In the 70s. Yeah.
So I'm embarrassed to say I hadn't even heard of it before I went this year. I think I probably heard the name in passing, but CariFesta games, but not the art side of it, not the art festival. So it was absolutely fantastic. And Britton and I both got grants to go. So that was also really nice from the National Cultural Foundation.
Grants. We have to start talking about the money part of getting our art done. How do we find these grants?
So I know Britton was joking about how I love to start WhatsApp groups, but they come in handy. It's because of some of the WhatsApp groups I'm a part of. That's why I even get this information. So there are several that are just a collective of writers from across the Caribbean, or not even just the Caribbean. You have one called the South Collective, which has writers even in the Caribbean and a couple from some African countries. And whenever there are opportunities, or whether it's performances or attending a grant or a festival, they'll just share these opportunities. So I was just in a couple of these groups and I heard about these mobility assistant grants being offered. And I heard on the day of the deadline, on the day. And I managed to get off our application, so myself and Britton. And because God is so good, God
That's
is so
right.
good. I got 2 grants because I got one from the NCF and then I also got one from UNESCO. Because UNESCO had another something in the plenary. It was a training program in the plenary as a part of their Creative Caribbean program, where they're training creative entrepreneurs in good business governance. So I got to attend that in the margins of CariFesta. Again, absolutely amazing, priceless information, lots of really good networking. I mean, I'm still in touch with persons who I met in Barbados, and we're already brainstorming how we can support each other and ways in which we can, just help each other out in our various creative ventures.
You know, we have a book festival, an online book festival showcase that we have coming up next November next month.
Next month, yeah.
So certainly I will send you over that information so that we are, I know that many authors, published authors, whether they're publishers of music or book, especially if they're self-published, they have some kind of difficulty or barriers reaching wide audiences. And our aim is to create a platform where they can do that and
Yeah.
have evergreen access to people looking for new material. Because I think that the days are coming very quickly when people need something different from what has been ubiquitous. I learned that word today. Yeah, I know that.
Yes, ubiquitous in media. We need a breath of fresh air. We need to be grounded again in our history, in our culture, in the beauty of who we are, as opposed to the chaos of what's happening right now. So we definitely need that. Yes.
So
yes.
we have to have some kind of grounding taking place right here and right now. So when it comes on to you running the organization, and your organization is a nonprofit,
Yes.
how is it just for poets to become aware of their business acumen? I do remember that the late third world musician, not
Ibo Cooper.
Ibo Cooper. I know if my memory serves me correctly, he always did a class. I think he offered a class at the Jamaica School of Music, which is the business side of the music business, and how young musicians can manage themselves and manage their art and their work.
Right.
To be appropriately paid in the marketplace, etc. We know that back in the day, many artists, both in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, as well as in the United States, many artists were exploited when it came on to their art, their music, their album. And threads of that still remain for those who are not mainstream. So it's impressive to me, like 20, 30 years ago, the music business did not have amongst their owners a Jay-Z and his team.
That's
And
true.
now, when I go to a Beyonce concert where he performs, you see a whole mechanism that's set up not just to make money, but to truly, duly entertain the audience for the full value of whatever they pay for.
Right.
I will go to any Beyonce concert anywhere, anytime, because what I see in operation, and I probably can name you about 5 Beyonce songs, right? But what enthralls me about the unit is that once upon a time, a unit such as that would be underpaid. They would not be autonomous. They would not get, so if they charge $5,000 for a seat that is literally on stage, that $5,000 is well worth it. And they don't go on tour every year. So what? They go on tour maybe once every 5 years, 4 years, whatever. So that $5,000 you pay, you're gonna pay for all the different years that they have not been, but their concert stays with you. And I'm sure they did not start out charging a seat for $5,000. Probably they start out with a seat being free.
Maybe, yeah, that's true. A lot of them have to do that, and it's seen as paying your dues,
Or whatever.
Yeah.
But I like that in this day and age that your organization exists where it says, yes, poets, ask, are you getting pushback from would-be contractors who don't want to pay your poets who are in your groups, various groups? What is the response from the market like?
I would say the response is, I mean, still slightly mixed, but for the most part, people do understand. Like, it's just that they'll understand even if they don't have the money to pay you. It's not that they're saying they don't think you're being unreasonable. They're just saying, you know what, I just can't afford that right now. And they don't see you as being unreasonable. So that already shows that we've come a long way, a very long way, because even 10 years ago, the idea of a poet charging fees, like if you are not Mutabaruka, who are you? Why should we pay? You should be lucky. You should see it as an opportunity for exposure. That's my friend and colleague. She's a publisher, Tanya Batson Savage. She says people die from exposure. Yeah, so she's like, people die. Like, that's my favorite quote from her.
My side hurteth. I love it.
Yeah, and it's so right. She's like, this thing where people want to say, oh, you're getting exposure. People die from exposure. So nowadays, I know for myself personally, when people come to me, like, nobody comes to the exposure nonsense to me anymore. They'll just say, what's your rate, Casey? Because I think I'm now starting to cross over into that category of poets, or at least with that level of, I mean, I'm not world famous, but enough people know me to know that I take my poetry seriously enough to know that if you're going to ask me to, you are asking me. I did not ask you. You called me. I was at home in bed.
Minding your own business.
Minding my own business, and you're coming to disturb me. No, you need to come better.
Yeah, you're asking my time, my presence. You're asking me to add quality and value to your event.
I have to look a certain way. I need to have my hair done.
Yes,
I need to have on you want me to, I can't come in there in my yard clothes looking like a mess. Like, I have to spend gas, that is
but you also have to clean your teeth. You don't want to sit there. You have to brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Money. Come
That's
on,
money.
people.
Exactly. Just everything. Like, there's a cost to every single thing, and so people are appreciating that. And to the point where I've now reached a stage where somebody asked me not just to come and perform. They said, I want you to do this poem. Like, I like this one of your poems. Come and do that poem. So, so the market has changed, and that's good. And what I try to do is to bring other poets under the fold. So if somebody's asking me to come somewhere, and I know I'm not available, I'll still ask. I'll say, what is the budget for this event? What's the budget for the performance?
Right.
And even if I can't attend, if I'm going to send somebody, another poet from my database, you need to pay that person, because that's still their time, and you are still being served by the fact that JICU is sending people. If you don't even have the money, what do you have? Even if you don't have the cash, can we get a professional recording?
Yes.
So that that poet can now put that on their Instagram page and use that to promote themselves. Can JICU get its logo on the flyer so that JICU as an organization can get something? Because you are benefiting from our services. You're not having to ask your co-worker, friend, baby mother, cousin, church auntie for somebody. You can come here and you get exactly what you want. Instead of having you have to use your own channels and do the guesswork. So compensate us for the benefit that you are clearly getting, that you came to us to ask for.
I am a big, oh my God. I started to earn monies from my creative work from age of 16.
Nice.
And I don't know anything differently. I really don't. I've been working with organizations, and because they know of my craft for emceeing, they would want me to MC the thing for free. And I would get down and dirty and quiz them out and they have to do something. They have to do something. I said, the only reason you asked me because I have the professional expertise to do it. So
Exactly.
you need to fork out those monies and do something. If not, go hire somebody else and pay them their fee. Since you don't want
Yes.
to give me. I said my MC fees are not included in the salary I get for XYZ position. They couldn't stand that. But
I
I
love
am
it.
so that is why I'm really a big supporter of what you're doing with your organization because respect needs to be due. When a writer, an artist has to give of him or herself, the brain, when your mind is occupied with the thing that you have to do, you can't think of anything else.
No.
Think of how you're going to pay your rent. You can't think of the other two events you have coming up. Your brain is unavailable
Yes.
for other things.
Yes.
Sometimes you forget,
Absolutely.
you really forget to eat. You forget to eat, right?
Exactly. And honestly, it's people don't understand the opportunity. It's an opportunity cost. When I'm going to your event, I am not at home catching up on sleep. I
No.
am not at home working on other poems. You know what I mean? I'm not getting a chance to connect with my friend. My time, that is a cost. And if
Yes.
it's a cost for me, it's a cost for any other poet. If you
But
can find the money to pay me, you can find the money to pay another
pay
poet.
the other poet.
Don't try to just make it sound as, oh, and I understand that, you have persons with different levels of expertise, fine, but there should always be a base level. If you're asking someone to leave the house, it should not cost you money. You should have to spend your own money on taxi fare. That's
I
insanity.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. Great. Amazia, is that how you say the name? Great
Amaziah, the
Amaziah.
great
She says, great.
Amaziah the Great.
Yeah, she says, greatness indeed. Greetings, everyone. Big respect to you, Casey, KG, she calls you. Um, Tanisha Ben says, Carifesta 15. That's what we're going to be doing next year.
Oh,
Carifesta
that's what happened this year. Tanisha was with myself and Britta in Carafesta,
15.
at Carafesta in Barbados this year. It was,
Did
again,
you get to perform at any of the events during that time outside of attending that special session that you attended?
well, we actually went to the granular poetry scene in Barbados. So myself and that's where I performed. I performed at an actual local open mic, and I'm really glad I did because it wasn't even Carafest. It was with other Bayesian poets.
Oh,
That
God.
was it was such a beautiful connection to make, and we're still in touch right now. And we're already all of us are trying to think, how can we get Auntie Mia to either fly us back or fly them to Jamaica so other Jamaicans can hear from them. And I know that I'd love Britain to be on because Britain and Tanisha participated in the first ever regional poetry slam where they had to write a poem on the spot. They didn't, yeah. So they were given a theme and they were given a few minutes to write the poem and then recite it right there on the
Yeah.
spot. They both did really well. Yeah.
I can only imagine. So we don't know what happened to Breton, but no worries. We will have
He'll be
to.
on next week. It's just, yeah,
Yeah. We'll
yeah.
just have to go ahead. I was planning a particular guest next week, but we can definitely go ahead and schedule Breton for next week. We don't know what happened, but
Yeah.
that's all right too. That's all right too. How do you get the word out about Jaiku? And how do we join if we wanted to as a poet?
So get the word out using a lot of social media platforms. So we are Jaiku Poetry on everything. On Facebook, it's the same handle across. We try to make it as uniform as possible. So it's Jaiku Poetry, one word. On Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, TikTok, and or websites that are under construction. So they're going to be, so look out for them soon, jaikupoetry.com and jaikupoetry.org.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So we can look out for those and
Yeah.
see how we can become a part of the movement.
Yes.
Any connections with any prior poetry groups in Jamaica? Any connection with any groups that existed before?
You'll have poets who, we're all, again, the poetry community in Jamaica is still quite small, so we all know each other. So there are persons who still attend the Poetry Society of Jamaica's monthly open mics, and we also know of other poets. We work along with them a lot who will attend another open mic called Pencil, which is the last Wednesday. We work alongside very closely actually with other poetry groups. So the same Tanisha Bent who you saw commenting, she has started the only poetry open mic in all of St. Elizabeth called
Right.
Rata
Good
Backyard
stuff.
Poetry.
Good
Yes.
stuff. That is
Yeah, so
great
she's doing a
stuff.
lot of amazing work, and Jaiku happily supports her. We've been to both of her annual open mics, and then she's doing a special one in Christmas in December. So everybody, all roads lead to Silo St. Elizabeth on Boxing Day. And we also work with just other poets who have their own brand. So there's one called Simone Fruit Tree. She just toured Europe under her. Yeah, she was in Netherlands and Germany and I think Italy as well. So we work with several other poets who work on their own. But I mean, because we tend to we're just about promoting poetry as a business. A lot of poets, even if they operate individually, they'll still come and back us because they know that the mission is the same for all of us. And Jaiku is just one umbrella that's pushing for this mission.
Okay. What are some of the immediate plans for the organization in the next year?
Oh, several. So we have so far been working with different poets. Well, not working. We host different poets from other countries. We call those poetry tours. So there've been poets from London and Toronto and Los Angeles. And when they come here, we just, while they're here, we try to bring them into different poetry events that are happening. We've even curated some events for them. So that they could get a chance to perform and meet other poets. So we're definitely going to keep that going. I know that our flagship project, our biggest one, is Kingston Poetry Week. So we do that in the week leading up to World Poetry Day, which is the 21st of March every year. So we did it officially this year, but we in a way did a soft launch last year. Okay. And it was just, again, in response to what I kept seeing in the market. I mean, all these poetry groups, everybody's scattered, everybody in silos. And I just got up and said, that's nonsense. Why don't we just put it all on one flyer? Because we're all trying to promote to the same people. And then that triggered a thought. Let's just make it our own. Call it, and don't just say world, no, Kingston. Kingston Poetry Week. So nobody can fly from foreign and take it from us. This is our Poetry Week. And it was a really fantastic time.
I am loving this. Now, ask my audience members before I let Casey go tonight. If you have any questions, give me the questions and let me ask. Casey, and here's what she says. Casey and I have never met. That's the great Amaziah.
Amaziah, yeah, that's Craig. It's Amando. Yeah.
Casey and I have never physically met in person, but she's my friend. It was a great honor to be the one to announce her as the winner for the Best International Artist at the National Spoken Word Awards. Tell us a little bit about that competition, the International Artist at the National Spoken Words Award. Tell us a little bit about that competition where you emerged the winner.
All right, so that is based in Chicago. So it's the American National Spoken Word Awards, and they look at two things primarily: your digital catalog. So you have to give them access to whether you have your poems on Instagram or your YouTube channel or your website, and then they assess it off of that. Your nomination, or rather, is built on the quality of your pieces, of your performance pieces, as well as how you contribute to the poetry community or scene in your respective country. So there were, I think, 7 countries, poets from 7 different countries that were nominated. Ghana, the UK, Canada, there are 1 or 2 other Caribbean islands like Trinidad and British Virgin Islands and US Virgin Islands. And the latter part was based on voting. And I rallied the vote. I have to say the Jamaican community came out so strong.
I love it. Strong. I like it. It.
Yes. So one Jamaica, I was just like, listen, guys, I'm taking it home for the country right now, like we need to take this home. And every year I just want another Jamaican take home. That I don't want that thing to leave here. You need to stay resident in Jamaica.
I am loving that, and we tend to shine wherever we go.
Yeah, to the world.
We can't help it. I know we can't help it. And that's how I felt the other day when I won an international award for podcast hosting. So Yes, indeed. I think we're such a powerful group of people. And whether we're in sports, music, drama, arts, the sciences, whether
Yes.
in diplomacy. A lot of people don't know how very powerful, well, you would know because that's
I
your
know. I worked there for 4 years.
exactly, you know. So you find that we have a quality of strength, of accomplishment, of just getting in there and getting it done and leading the charge. And we love that. We're like Bolt. It doesn't matter whether we're running on the track, or we are playing with words. We are happy, so happy to be able to share that. Let me see now. Let me see what's happening here. Oh, I see. I see. I see. I just played with my YouTube a while ago and I saw Breton's face and I'm like, hold on, is he back? But no, not back yet. But look, we are wrapping up at this time because yes, it's that time. Our hour is just about ready to wrap up, but we are
Nice.
going to have part two. Have no fear, we shall have part two. And you're welcome back to Casey. You will be here with Britton next time so you can remind Britton of the things that he didn't say, since we have had a full discussion with you. And
Yes.
as I said to you when we started the program, ladies and gentlemen who are watching, I had to say to Casey, I said, Casey, I was going to ask you if it is that you really don't want to talk about your performance because you seem like you want to hang in the back, but that's not going to happen tonight. We're going to meet you. We're going to talk about you and your work and how you came into the work that you're doing as an artist and how you are now inspiring. Because you, as you said earlier in the conversation, you said, if you're born and this is your divine gift, to be a poet, to be a writer, and to be well taken care of, doing what you enjoy doing,
Yes.
then we're here for it. So I'm so glad you had the time tonight to share with us about your endeavors, to share with us about your organization, Jaiku Poetry. Remember, everyone, you can find them online on all the platforms. Just Jaiku Poetry. It's the same thing everywhere. It's not mixed up like
Everywhere.
so you will see why I write. You will see why I write on Facebook, and you will see why I write on YouTube that you're watching on. Please, if you really enjoy this conversation and you're not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and smash the YouTube button and subscribe. And oh, by the way, Lorna says she needs to have your earrings, Casey.
Thank you.
It's so interesting. When we started, we both ended up look like we're wearing almost the same. Great mind.
Yes, very similar patterns. Yes. Tell Lorna she can join the club.
Yes, indeed. So it's really been my pleasure. Let me check one more if I see any questions. All right, Dawn says it has been a great time together and the prophet. So again, Casey Garvey, poet, and organizer and co-founder of Jaiku Poetry, has been our guest. Our other guests somehow maybe having technical difficulties, not to worry.
Yeah.
We're going to come back and have a similar conversation with him next week as we continue, as long as he's available. And we're going to continue to hold each other in the best light possible of our creativity. Remember, creativity is intelligence having fun, or so says
I
Albert.
love that.
So make sure that you go ahead, subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch out for our author or book showcase coming up in November. You're going to be hearing more about that. And of course, if you really enjoyed our conversation, share it with another poet. Do not hesitate. Share it far and wide. And we love your feedback. We want you to reach out to us, reach out to our guests, and let our guests know how they did, how you enjoyed it. And we thank you so much for watching again, Casey. Thank you so much for being here with us today. You take care and have a great week.